Welcome to my report on our home's solar PV and Powerwall performance for May 2020. I'll use the same graphs as in previous months, which I described in the introduction and February videos. I'll also go into slightly more detail about the quirk of the Tesla app that I mentioned last month, but in the absence of any explanation from elsewhere, more work is needed to get to the bottom of what's going on there. Here's the first graph, showing the daily input of energy from the two solar arrays and from the grid, with the figures coming from daily readings of the meters, which are taken around 8 AM, as that's the end of our Economy 7 low rate. With all the sunshine we've had in the month, it's not surprising to see the yellow and orange solar colours dominating the graph even more than last month. The grid contributions started the month in the same week-on, week-off pattern that began in April, but stopped when it became warm enough for the storage heaters in the annex to be switched off by the tenant. The old 4 kilowatt southwest array produced much more than the new 3 kilowatt southeast array because it's located on a flatter roof, as well as the obvious reason of having a larger peak rating. The change in the contributions to the total solar generation since February shows clearly how orientation of solar panels, the pitch as well as azimuth, can greatly affect their output. But as will be the case for many other installations, not only was the 600 kilowatt hours output the best May for the Southwest Array since its installation in 2011, it was in fact a record for any month in those 8.5 years. The two arrays together produced 1031 kilowatt hours, just over a megawatt hour of energy, which was 90.8% of the electrical energy coming into the property, up from 78% in April. 102 units of off-peak grid energy were imported, mainly to feed the storage heater early in the month, although a few units were used to boost the Powerwall before the rare dull days in the first half of the month. Only 2 units of peak grid energy trickled in through the month. We exported 141 kilowatt hours to the grid on days when the Powerwall had completely filled, which was a 13.6% of the month's solar production. That's being more generous than I would like, but there was a lot of sun and still no electric car to gobble up the excess solar. This second graph shows where the energy being used in the property came from, as reported by the Tesla app, with around 11% from the grid and 89% from solar. The percentage of energy coming back out of the Powerwall was 87.6%, which is a drop from April. The handover from April to May was to blame, as on the 1st of May I recorded 15.2 kilowatt hours going into the Powerwall and only 5.5 kilowatt hours coming out. From this low starting point of around 33%, the percentage steadily climbed through the month. In last month's video, I mentioned that I had noticed figures temporarily changing in the Tesla app. While recording figures after taking the 8 AM readings, I spotted that the figures for 3 days previously had changed, but a day later had reverted to what had originally been recorded. That behaviour still happens every day. Therefore, I decided to check on the figures in the Tesla app for a particular day, and I chose the 8th of May, whenever I could conveniently do so on the 10th and 11th of May, and found that the figures didn't change just once, but varied throughout the 11th. I'll concentrate here on the figures shown for home usage and solar energy, which eventually get back to where they started. The reason for this behaviour remains unclear, and I don't anticipate getting a reply from anyone in the know at Tesla in the near future. The third graph shows the self-power performance, which is the proportion of energy coming direct from solar or from the Powerwall. On self-power mode since early in April, I only have an all-day graph, but I've decided to leave this display unchanged in the knowledge that I'll need to revert to time-based control later in the year, when I'll once again be getting separate figures for peak and off-peak times. The overall self-power percentage for May was calculated to be 89%, with 52% of that coming direct from solar. As mentioned earlier, this May was a new record in any month for the solar southwest generation. The arithmetic mean for May has risen to 497.4 kilowatt hours, just below July's 498.8 and ahead of June's average of 488.3. June hasn't had a good start so far and will struggle to get back ahead of May, I suspect. This composite bar chart showing solar southwest performance across the years confirmed that 2020 is still in the lead for the months up to May. While we need some rain after almost zero rainfall in May, we hope that it will come with a decent amount of sunshine in the meteorological summer months. That's it for this episode. I'll leave you with the energy usage graphs produced by the Tesla app for each day of May and hope to see you again next month.